Hey, Posy Gloves here. I'm wearing a hat, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this sort of a lead sound right here. So you can get really, really creative with sounds like this. If I were to play just one part of this, because it's a layer of 2 synthesizers. If we go up an octave. You know, whatever. You come up with a cool melody. And then with sounds like this, melodic writing is really important. Now, I was given a track to reference to make a lead sound that sounded something similar to their sound. I'm not like mega close to their sound. I sort of went my own way. But we're going to be looking at how to make this sound. So that's what matters. So the beef of it is this lead sound. And it's a Harmor with 2 parts. The other side of Harmor sounds like this. And then you mix it in with part A, which is just a straight saw wave. And so you get this like little buzzy thing in the middle, which is kind of important for the sound that I was shown. And then I also have this 3 times oscillator plug going. And I'm using the pulse wave and the saw wave. So let's go ahead and look at this a little more specifically. So on part A, it is just a saw wave. I am using a unison of 2, and I have a compression of burning, whatever that means, a burning compression. Something that's important about this is I do have reverb engaged. And because I have this, if my reverb goes through my compressor with settings that are this intense, it's not going to sound that great. So I went into the advanced tab and moved the reverb after the compression. So my sound gets compressed and then it goes through the reverb and no longer. If I put the reverb first, you get that sort of a sound versus the reverb's a lot less in your face, and that was something that I wanted. So maybe you don't. Maybe you like the other one. The envelope for the global EQ looks like this. It's sort of a crazy looking envelope. I have things going down and up. This was all a trial and error. And it's still pretty darn close to a saw wave, but it has been manipulated according to this curve. So if I were to change where it lands, like if I make this, it's going to sound a lot boxier. If I move it down, it sounds a little more open, so I left it down. That's sort of what I was going for with these shapes. This thing adds a little bit of brightness. I'll take it away. It just uses a touch of brightness, so I wanted that back. So that's what's going on there. I don't believe I'm touching anything else on this side. Okay. And I left everything else alone. Now we're going to go to part B. Part B sounds like this. So to get this sound, you might be going like, what did you do to this side? Like, there's like nothing here. And then you go into the effects and you're like, that's got to be the same because the effects carry over. And if you go into the EQ, it's like nothing's happened there. So you might be wondering, well, if you look over here, bam, this is all I did was I brought the octave down twice and the detune down twice. And you see it creates quite a different sound, especially with the detune being down twice. And then I layered that in. And you see I put it high emphasis on the saw wave because of the sound I was basing this sound off of. And that's the sound I got. You could, of course, mix in a little bit more to taste. And then, I'm not sure if I said this in this video. The legato is really important. So you turn the legato on. I left the timing alone. That lets me do this. Versus if I had that not on. So I wanted the legato because this is a monophonic lead line. So that is what's going on here. You might be going, what about post-processing? Did you do anything in post? And the answer is, of course, I put a Maximus there. And I brought up the mids a little bit. I felt like there was some mid compression. I chose upwards compression, and that's what I went with. So yeah, it's really, really simple. Literally just went in for the mid band. Okay, next up is the 3 oscillator side of things. And all I did was I opened it up, I layered it with a saw wave and with a pulse wave, and I brought it down to an octave because I believe this one's 24 by default. So I brought it both down, and I changed this one to a pulse, and I moved the volume down a little bit on this. That's all I did. Really simple deal. And I layered that in there, and I got that. Now, you might be wondering, where's that whoa, 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 like at the beginning? Like you didn't have that in your sound. You see there's a Harmor number 4, a pitch vibrato depth. And what I am modulating is you go to Harmor number 4, which has now been changed to lead, and I'm modulating this guy. And I believe it's on A. So only A is doing that. Oh, another thing. A is down an octave on just the frequency. I didn't say that. So now I've said it. said that kind of angrily. I don't know why I was so angry at that. And on the, let's make sure there's nothing here. Oh, there are some things here. With this, I went for some tonal shaping on the 3 oscillator. And so I was just sort of like basically a stagnant comb filter that just sits here. And I was just trying to aim for the frequencies that I thought would create a similar nasally quality. And so that's what I settled on there. And then, well, let's turn this off and let me show you what that sounds like. That's what you get. And then you turn on the compressor, which helps it come back to life. And I bring up the highs and the mids quite substantially. I literally just bring the bands up. And I brought the lows down. Like, I didn't want the lows. I was like, see you later, you low frequencies. And that's it, because it just wasn't necessary for this sound. Something I've gotten a little more into the habit of is pumping things up pretty hard with this and then slamming it with the saturation option in Maximus, which you can learn more about Maximus in my FL12 Effects series. And that was creating some interesting sounds that I quite liked. So I kept it like that. And I brought this down because I mixed this in to taste with the first lead. So that's how I made this lead sound. That's that. If you have any questions, let me know. There will be the FLP of this in the description. You'll actually get a couple other sounds that come with it, like these guys. Wow, that was really loud and high. So kind of cool. And this guy. And when you put them together, there's actually a pattern. Nope, that's a lame pattern. There's a better pattern somewhere. So anyways, look at these guys too. It's just sort of an added bonus, I guess. If you have any questions, again, let me know. Subscribe. Support me on Patreon. And I do private lessons if you should desire a lesson. And have a blessed day.